speaker I'm going to introduce is Andrew Fogliato. Andrew is a former agent with a passion for helping real estate professionals use digital marketing to grow their business. Andrew excels at online lead generation and is here to help you leverage your online presence to boost your database. Let's please give Andrew a round of applause.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Sorry, I don't have the fancy accent, so you're just stuck with me. But you'll just have to deal with it. Before we get started, though, if you do want a copy of my slides, you can just text Emerge 2016 to that number, and it'll just email you a PDF of all my slides. So it's a really quick and easy way to do it. Full disclosure, you will get signed up for my newsletter if you do, but you also get all my slides. I'm also going to put it up again at the end, so if you want to wait to see my presentation to see if you actually think it's worth it, you can do that too, but I'm going to put these up here now so you can, a lot of people take pictures, things like that, because I always find people take pictures from like the back of a slide, and you probably can't even see everything on it, so this is a little easier way to set it up. So a little bit who I am. I was an agent for a couple of years up in Aurora. If you guys know where that is, it's just north of Toronto. I was selling there, and basically for me, most of my business came online. A lot of it was learning, trial and error. When I was doing it, it wasn't, no one was blogging in my town. So for me, I think after 6 months, I was #1 on Google for basically every term in my town. Now would be a little bit harder to do that because more and more people are doing that. But the smaller your market, the easier it is to actually do it if you produce consistent content. Then because I was doing all those stuff, my office started asking me to train the other people in the office on how to leverage tech in their business. So I started doing that, then got recruited by head office, and ended up joining them as a trainer and speaker. Now, every time I was doing training, people were like, can we just hire you to do this for us? Eventually, there's so many people saying it, you say yes. So then I started my own digital marketing agency, which is what I'm doing now. So when I'm talking about my clients, I'm talking about agents, so not buyers or sellers. So just roughly speaking, when I'm doing a funnel for a client online, this is what it looks like. It looks a lot more confusing than it actually is. But basically, you want to start with something simple like a lead magnet, and I'll break this down throughout my presentation. But you can see every step is planned, and that's an important thing that a lot of people miss out when they're doing online marketing, is they'll just put up an ad, and then that's it. And they're okay, I'm just going to send them to the contact page on my website or something like that. They don't have the entire plan broken out. What happens up here is just as important as this part here. If you don't have a good follow-up system in place, your ads aren't going to be worth it. You need a follow-up to go with the ads that you're doing. So you need to have every piece working before you launch it, or you're just wasting money at the end of the day. So the first thing you want to do is start with a targeted lead magnet. So this is one I put out for a client, first-time home buyers. We actually just recently relaunched it with a bit of changes, but the one we just relaunched we're getting leads at about $3.20 right now. So every $3.20, we get a new lead who's downloaded this guide and puts them into our funnel. So it's going I think in the past week, we've had over 80. So it's gone really well for something like this, but it's because we made it so specific to our audience. Just very simple, get this first-time home buyers guide. And we can do this with sellers and different groups like that. But you want to figure out what your niche is. It can be as simple as, dog owners, how do you move with a pet? And it has a tip of things about moving with a pet. One of the most popular ones I love are quizzes. So if you guys have a lot of different neighborhoods in your area, you can be which neighborhood is right for me? How many people on Facebook have ever done one of those which Disney princess am I quizzes? I'm Ariel. I really think I work well with her. But people do those all the time, and you can take advantage of that by having a quiz being which neighborhood in Niagara is right for me. They go through, they put in a bunch of questions, it spits out a neighborhood, and at the end of it, you just have a little call to action saying, search for homes for sale in this neighborhood. Now that becomes someone who's a much more targeted lead because it's a lot more relevant information to them, as opposed to the generic sign up and get a list of homes for sale. Go more specific and you'll find way better responses, but you really have to know who your target market is. And then you want to create a landing page. A landing page is also really important. This is where a lot of people screwed up. I had a woman, she came to me with an ad. She's I'm running this ad to this page. And I looked at the page. It was just the contact page on her website. Had no mention of the entire ad. She was giving away tickets to an event. And she's no one wanted my free tickets to this event. But she sent them to the contact page, didn't even mention the event that was in the ad. You want to make sure that what is there in the ad is directly referenced on the actual landing page. And at the first step, you just want to get them into your funnel system. So you don't have to ask for all their information. Everybody goes out there like, all right, I want name, email, phone number, social security number. Are you married? What are you wearing? Way too much information about them. Just get their email. That's all you want at the beginning, email address only. And then now that you have that, you can start building your audiences more in depth. For starters, you can do your email list. Upload your entire email list to Facebook, or just take the ones you like. Upload them to Facebook, and now you can target ads directly to them. You can also target anyone who's come to your website. When they go back to Facebook, like who here shopped on Amazon? A few people. You ever gone back to Facebook, seen an ad for that exact product you were just looking at? You can do that on Facebook with your site too, down to a specific page. So if I see that someone's on my website reading a blog post called, Top 10 Homes with Pools in Aurora, I'm going to retarget you with ads for houses with pools in Aurora. I'm going to base on your activity the ads you're going to see. It takes a little bit more time to set up, but once you're there, way better responses on what people are doing. You can also base it based on engagement that people are taking with your content, and then lookalike audiences I'll get into more in a second. But so for example, this is a video that I ran with a client. So we spent, I think, now it's up higher than that. This is when I first started a couple months ago. We're at about 60,000. We spent $300, and we've had 60,000 people see this video. And you can see almost half of it's organic, half of it's paid. But what we've done now is anyone who watches at least half of the video gets retargeted with another set of ads. Because if they're watching half the video, that's a way warmer audience than someone who's just scrolling by and it autoplays for 3 seconds. So I set based on the amount of time you're actually watching and engaging with the content. And then lookalike audiences are one of my favorite things. Basically what you do is you upload an audience. So for instance, take your email list of your past clients, upload it to Facebook. Now Facebook will analyze that group and then find people like them on Facebook, because they know all that data about you. Like a good example is, how do you think Google knows if someone's pregnant? If they search, how big is a pineapple? Because they know that anyone searching for that size of fruit is probably comparing it because they heard that their baby's as big as a pineapple. That type of data is what they're collecting on all of you. So Facebook's taking that data, and Google's taking that data, and then finding people like them. And that's the type of thing that you can do. And all you have to do to take advantage is just upload your email addresses that you have. And you can also use this as a negative list. So if you have a ton of clients that you hated working with, upload them and exclude them from seeing ads. It can work really well that way. And when you're running your ads, you want to think about who else is targeting this demographic. Because you don't have thousands of dollars a day necessarily to target the way that everyone else does. But if you think about who else is targeting the same group as I am, can I piggyback off what they're doing? So if I'm trying to target young families because I want them to move up, I'm going to leverage what Huggies and Pampers are spending to reach them by targeting people who like Huggies and Pampers, because no one else is going to do it. Or if I'm trying to target pet owners, I'm not targeting people who have an interest in dogs, because that could be anyone who just clicked a funny dog video of like the dog trying to eat the bone at the bottom of the water bowl. That could be anybody. But if they like PetSmart, they're probably a dog or cat owner. So think about what other companies that have a way bigger budget than you are actually targeting them. And then piggyback off their ad spend by targeting them. Like home sellers, who else wants to target homeowners? Home Depot, Home Hardware, companies like that. Their entire marketing goal is to get in front of homeowners, because renters don't spend nearly as much money at Home Depot as everyone else. So now you just piggyback off what Home Depot is spending. So think about it from that perspective of who else is targeting them. And now once you've got them into your ecosystem, you want to start building authority. Because if you think about it, they don't know who you are when they're opting into like a first-time homebuyer's guide. So you got to show them why it's worth working with you. So think about this. Like, these are both Oscar winners. But if you went now and looked at like Captain Phillips, who would go see it if it was Nicolas Cage instead of Tom Hanks? Would have even made it to theaters still. Like, it's a very different thing, because what they've done is Tom Hanks kept building his authority by creating great movies. Nicolas Cage went the complete other route and decided he didn't need to make good movies anymore. He's just going to collect $1 million or $2 million every time he does one. And maybe the movie will make 7 or 8, still okay money there, but he's not that big star anymore because he's lost a lot of that authority, even though, again, won an Oscar, was a great actor, but kind of went off the deep end a bit. So you can use your ads to build that authority and show that you're the expert. Like you heard on the consumer panel, they were talking about how important it was that you know your area. So what if everyone who's engaged with your content, opted into your list, things like that, are seeing ads of you talking about the market, like you're talking about absorption rate and different stats like that in a video on Facebook, they're going to see you as the expert, and they're getting valuable information from you. And then you can also, again, retarget based on that one too. So if someone engages, like my initial video was just like, I love this town, 60,000 people. Half the people who watch that, maybe they're going to get hit with a video of market stats, all this information about how the market's doing. And then people who watch 50% of that are now going to be hit with, do you want to sell your home, find out what it's worth. Because if you start with the home evaluation, people see it as scammy. They're like, oh, I just want something automated or something like that. But if you're now proving that you're the expert and you've gone down and built up that authority, they're way more likely to opt in down the road. And this is what you do now. Now you're asking for that second opt-in. Here's where you ask for more information. Like, you're going to ask for their phone number. You're going to ask, how long do you plan on moving? Do you already have a relationship with an agent? I sometimes switch it to, do you have a signed contract with an agent? Do you say, are you working with a realtor? A lot of people just say yes because they're on like 10 different agents' list of getting email notifications. So I ask if they're signed. It's a bit of a distinction there that can still get you some business, because a lot of people say they're working with someone, but they're not committed to anybody yet. So that's a good kind of distinction. But when you've built up that trust, they're way more likely to give you a lot more information. And just a tip, if someone opts in on anything you do, and you have like a box where they can write in information, if they write a paragraph, that's a very hot lead. If they don't provide anything, not as great. The more they provide you, the hotter the lead, because they're spending time writing it out. So when you're responding to them, we'll talk about that in a sec. But that next step, which is nurturing the leads, this is what separates everybody. This is where you make all that money that you're going to do when you're working these leads. Because you can get as many leads as you want. If you don't have a plan in place, you're not going to get anything out of it. So you want to have emails going out. You want to have touch points built in so that you know how, and have a process of how to get that business and actually turn it into something. Like, I followed up with people for years before they actually bought and sold with me. But for me, it wasn't a lot of work because I had a system built in where it's just like, okay, every 3 months, reach out to them. So like initially, like for instance, anyone who signs up for my list, there's like a welcome email series where over like, I think it's 5 or 8 days, you'll get a series of emails with content talking about a lot of this stuff. And then after that, you're on my regular email list. But initially, you're being welcomed a little bit more to engage with my content. You should have that same thing. When someone opts in, you have a series of emails at the very least that go out that kind of welcome them and build your authority and give them really useful information. I'm not going to go too much in depth on this because I know Danny talks a lot about how to work your database. So there's a lot of good information on that coming up. And really what you want to make sure you set apart is doing a little extra between everyone else. Whether that's, like, think about how people search on realtor.ca, for example. Like, they might open up the tabs for 5 different houses at a time. Well, then they might hit contact agent on all 5 different tabs. That means the same person is a lead for 5 different agents. If they all just respond with an email saying, hey, yeah, here's the information you want, when do you want to see it, or something like that, if you respond with a video, and you're actually on video, like through a tool like BombBomb talking to them, that's going to set you apart. If you respond with that and then say, and you could see that there's maybe something specific they were looking for, like it had a basement apartment, maybe you include a link to other properties with basement apartments too. Like, give them value beyond just answering that initial question if you know what you can do to help them. Because everyone else is just responding probably the same way. So you got to make sure you add that little bit extra to set yourself apart. So here's some of the tools that I use. I use Agile CRM. It has a free version, which is great. If you want to, and it gets into like marketing and sales automation, so it's really good there. It's not real estate specific though, but it's a really good product. And then I integrate it with a tool called Twilio, which just allows me to do like SMS marketing. So I can text people through it, or like have text-based autoresponders. Because text messages have like a 92% open rate, so it's a lot better than a lot of other things to do if you have that set up. I don't use anything like Hootsuite. I just use the built-in Facebook tools. What Facebook has built in is good enough, and I don't want to keep complicating with more and more and more tools, so I just use what's built into Facebook there. There's also SumoMe, which is a tool for your website, and basically what it does is it has like pop-ups and bars to sign up. Like if you go to my website now, you'll see at the top there's a little bar that says, sign up for my newsletter, get your real estate digital marketing tips. But if everyone at your table goes to my site right now, half of you are going to see a different page than the other half. One of you will see a blue button, one will see a red button, because I'm testing which one gets more opt-ins, and then I go to the next one. after that and see which one did better. And then you can also have targeted pop-ups on each different page. So you might come on one of my pages, and I can target that specific message. So if you're on a seller page, that pop-up's going to have some type of incentive to opt in for sellers specifically. And it's really easy to do using SumoMe. I also use Design Pickle. That's for all my graphic design. That's a little more expensive. I think it's $375 a month US. You can pay for a year up front, but it's unlimited graphic design with professional graphic designers. So if you don't want to use like Fiverr, Canva, things like that, because it works great when you do it on your own. But if you want to have like kind of that next step up, this is a great tool to have without having to hire a full-time graphic designer. But they work really well, and they're based out of the Philippines basically. So I think the head office is in Phoenix, and they hire graphic designers in the Philippines. So as long as I get my request in for design by 6 p.m., they work on it overnight, and I wake up with all of it in my inbox. So it's a really easy tool to use, great for listings. Then for a lot of email stuff, MailChimp. So for instance, if you sign up for my newsletter, when you opt in, that's just all coming through MailChimp automatically. Depending on the size of your list, most of you will probably be like $10, $15 a month if you want to have the automated emails built in. So it's a pretty affordable. If you don't do the automated, you just do regular newsletters, it's free. Unless you have like 5,000 or more people on your list, which most agents don't. And the other big one for building landing pages is LeadPages. So this is a landing page creation device. Basically, that's where I do all mine. So like if I'm doing an opt-in campaign, this is where they come. These are the pages they end up on. And what I like about it is it has something called A/B testing. So you can see on this, I have the original and then the variation. The variation had a 680% increase in opt-ins. And all I changed was the button from blue to orange. That was it. So just because you run an ad and it doesn't work, doesn't mean the entire thing is bust. Sometimes little changes. Like you see the first one, I had one opt-in. And then I added the variation, switched the color of the one button on the page, and that was it. And I went 16 opt-ins, which is 680%. Like, that is a huge change for a very little thing that I did. I did another one on my site where one of the pop-ups that came up, I just changed the font of one line on the pop-up, and I had a 180% increase. Like, little changes can make a big difference. It doesn't mean you have to scrap it. So if you see a lot of people are clicking on your ad and going to your landing page and not opting in, you don't have to scrap the whole thing. Just make little tweaks on your landing page, and then you can kind of make it a little bit better from there. So like I mentioned, if you want to get a copy of all my slides, you can just text Emerge 2016 to that phone number, and it'll automatically email you all of them. And if you have any questions as well, certainly reach out to me. I also have a Facebook group online. So in the actual, if you sign up for the newsletter, the first email that comes out has a link to my Facebook group where we talk about a lot of this stuff. And then there are breakouts later. Unfortunately, I can't stay for the breakout that I was originally doing with Danny, so my partner who's here, he's going to step in for me, but he knows all this stuff as well. Really bright guy for tech. So come to the breakouts. There's a lot of great information there. And I'm going to be around until about lunchtime, so if you have any questions at lunch, you can certainly come and ask. But otherwise, appreciate you guys having me today.